Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. The Auburn Tigers have a brand new head coach in Alex Golech, the former South Florida head coach. At South Florida, his record is 23 wins and 15 losses. What is next for the Auburn Tigers now that they have their new head man? Kyle Rush of the barnauburn.com joins me right after this open to discuss everything about the new hire of Alex Golech down on the plains at Auburn with a big war eagle.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside the Wednesday morning edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you, and Auburn has their new head man down on the plains, and it is Alex Golech, the former South Florida head coach. And I do need to also mention that Alex does have ties to the SEC, as before he was hired at South Florida, he was the tight ends and offensive coordinator up there at the Tennessee Volunteers in Knoxville. To break down how Alex Golech got the job at Auburn and what we can expect from him, here is host of and the owner of the barnauburn.com, Mr. Kyle Rush. Kyle, how are things with you down on the plains at Auburn now that you have a new head coach?
Oh, man. I'm glad it's over with. For whatever reason, that was only like a 4-week span of a coach firing to a new coach being hired, but it felt like it took forever to get here. But, yeah, you got Alex Golech in. He retains DJ Durkin. I think that was the biggest win that he could have right out of the gate. And really, I think knocked it out of the park with everything he's done so far. So I think his offenses are exciting. And I felt like Auburn fans, I like many, hey, man, if you just have an average offense, you're probably a 7, 8, 9 win team, maybe more this year. Just offense failed you over and over again. And this guy is the antithesis of that, I guess. Everywhere he's been, not only does he have good offenses, he has great offenses. You got the number 4, I think, total offense, number 2 scoring offense this year. Had the number 1 in both categories at Tennessee in the league. he's had success everywhere. So we'll see if he can parlay that into back into the SEC at Auburn.
So, Kyle, I do want to also ask you, because it was linked and rumored that Alex was going to Arkansas and then he flipped to Auburn because of 500,000 extra dollars that Auburn could offer him. Talk about how it all worked out of him not going to Arkansas and then ultimately ending up there at Auburn.
So I think that the early part of last week, I think John Summerall had pretty much accepted verbally the Auburn job. And then I think towards the middle of the week, something went down. Like there's so many stories about what that actually was. Did he agree to keep DJ Durkin, and did John Cohen overstep on maybe some contract stuff with DJ Durkin without Summerall's approval? Did he talk to some SEC coaches that may have talked him out of going to the Auburn job? Something happened.
Right.
And after that happened, it looked like Cohen got to work calling, recircling back with Alex Golech, who never signed a deal or anything with Arkansas. It just kind of looked like he did. I was actually recording an Iron Bowl preview with an Alabama Clint Lamb over at Cover Crimson. And the news popped up that Alex Golech had taken the Arkansas job right then. And that was Wednesday around lunchtime or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was excited because that meant Kane Womack wasn't going to Arkansas. Well, it turns out neither one of them ended up going to Arkansas. So shortly after that, John Cohen flipped the switch. You heard Pete Thamel mention the name on game day on Saturday. And then I think, Golech said he signed his contract at 2 a.m. Sunday morning. So it happened really, really fast. A pivot when things seemed to go, haywire with the Summerall deal. They pivoted and got it done.
So, Kyle, talk also about who else was in the hiring position there at Auburn, and who were some other candidates that we may not have heard of nationally that could have been interviewed.
So I think pretty much everybody that had the opportunity or talked to John Cohen, I think that was pretty public. I don't think there was really this like super secret candidate behind the scenes. Like I saw Penn State release this tweet where they talked to Urban Meyer and all those guys. I don't know that there was that dude out there. I mean, he talked to James Franklin, talked with obviously John Summerall, Alex Golech. He talked with several different Jeff Brom, several guys that were kind of Eli Drinkwitz, that their names were floated as being interested. But I don't think there was anybody it was a real surprise. And it felt like once they kind of honed in on Summerall, that was going to be their guy. DJ Durkin obviously had, wanted to have his name in the ring as well. And then once everything kind of realized that wasn't going to happen with Summerall, they pivoted really quick to Golech and got it done.
So if you would, a lot of people may not have watched him at South Florida. What can Auburn fans expect out of him in this offense and the scheme that he runs starting there at Auburn?
Yeah, so one thing that Auburn started to do towards the end of this year and seemed to have some success once you fired Hugh Freeze and Derek Nix took over is they really spread the field wide and ran a lot of tempo. And that seemed to kind of help the offense, help protect the offensive line, because you had some issues with pass protection, getting the ball out quickly. That seems to be what his whole offense is. It's literally spreading the full width of the field, running tempo. I was watching some of their games, and they're snapping the ball before the play clock gets under 30 seconds. They're going fast. When the play is over, everyone is immediately looking to the sideline for the play. So it's like I was watching a film when Tennessee played Alabama and knocked them off in Tuscaloosa, or maybe it was Knoxville. It doesn't matter. They had a touchdown pass, like a 60-yard touchdown pass, where the DB's looking back at, the sideline to get the play call, and they're running a play, and the receiver just runs by them. Like, that's their thing, create advantages with tempo and spacing. And they're going to do, I don't think anything is mega complex. It's just going to be aggressive. They do like to run the football. I think even at Tennessee, he rushed for close to 200 yards a game. May not be your traditional Auburn run the ball type thing that you have in mind as far as like having a big back, turn around, handing it off, and letting him run for, over 100 yards. May look a little different, but dude's intense. So I expect everybody to be, in line as far as how that offensive machine works. So that from what little I've looked at it, that seems to be what everyone should probably expect: going fast, throwing the ball a lot, and hopefully scoring a lot of points.
Now, Kyle, I know you don't want to do this, but let's briefly recap the Iron Bowl that ultimately had Auburn get down big, fight all the way back and tie it, and then excruciatingly losing it with a Cam Coleman fumble. Talk about that game in a nutshell, please.
Well, in a nutshell, that was Auburn's whole season in one game. You saw a little bit of everything. You saw the offense stall out. You saw the offense be explosive. You saw the defense be able to get stops. You be super physical, and then you saw the crucial penalties at the worst times, and then maybe even some questionable calls. And then a big turnover at the end where the offense had a chance again to go tie or even win the game if you go for two, and you can't get it done. So it's like everything that happened throughout the season that cost you games, all those things happened in that particular game. So I was proud of how the defense fought. I thought that they really affected Ty. They really were getting a lot of bodies on him and made his life miserable, and it showed. I think you did as good as many have done against that particular offense. I think they had under 300 yards total offense, maybe something like that. But again, you just couldn't get it done in crunch time, and I think that's been the story of this team the last 3 years. Just couldn't get it done in crunch time, and you saw everything at once. But I don't think it was for any lack of effort. They fought really hard and battled back into it after they dug the hole, and then just couldn't quite get it done.
All right, so Kyle, the SEC championship game here this weekend is between Alabama and Georgia. A lot of the beat writers that we've had on this week have said already that Georgia is going to get their revenge on Alabama. How do you see it playing out between Alabama and Georgia this weekend?
The way that game played out in Athens, it feels like that Grubb has that defense's number. Not so much so that that's just very going to be explosive and score a ton of points. It's like they score when they have to, and they get the first downs when they have to. So I'll be curious to see if Kirby and Schumann and those guys allow that to happen again, and what kind of adjustments they can make. I'm going to ride with Alabama until they, show me that they aren't still really good at football. So I think they find a way to win. And Kirby just seems to have sort of a panic attack every time he plays Alabama and can't quite get over the hump. So I think it's going to look very similar to the first game.
Kyle, sorry I had technical difficulties.
You good, man?
The one thing I wanted to ask, I heard most of the interview. What's one thing that you liked and didn't like about the hiring process? That was the one question I wanted to ask. What's one thing that you really liked? Like, wow, we're on top of it. And what's one thing like, what are we doing? Whether that was early, late, middle of it, random Tuesday, whatever it was. What did you like and didn't like?
So I'm going to be honest. There's going to be a lot of Auburn fans that will scoff at this or disagree with. I really cannot think of much that I didn't like about this process because I feel like John Cohen had a very specific idea that he wanted to achieve. I want to find somebody with an edge, And I want to try to keep this roster together as much as possible. And I want to try, if we can, to retain DJ Durkin, because any candidate that you hire, you're going to want them to go find the best defensive coordinator and the best offensive coordinator or offensive system out there. And you kind of already have this one here, and everything sort of set up to just continue on. A lot of players bought in. So he went into it with that mindset, and I don't think he really shied away from it. And you felt like you had something going with John Summerall. And I don't know like I said earlier, I don't know all the details of why that went wrong. But as soon as that happened, there was a pivot and there was a hire, and you never changed your deadline of, I want to have something announced on Sunday after the Iron Bowl so that we can hit the ground running and try to save whatever we can before signing day and get the ball rolling. So if anything, and this is not so much of a Cohen thing as it was maybe the candidate pool, a candidate pool deal. It didn't really feel like there was that no doubter home run guy out there, and maybe that guy doesn't exist anymore. Maybe since the playing field has been a lot more leveled, maybe there isn't that no brainer guy out there that's just an auto gonna win. Can't miss coaching prospects. So I didn't like that there wasn't a ton of blockbuster names, but on the flip side, I just don't think those guys were out there. I don't think those guys really existed in this coaching cycle. So I like you handled adversity. You still hit your deadline, and I don't think it was necessarily like we just hired somebody to get to the deadline. You still picked out one of the guys that you interviewed and identified early in the process. So I really can't point to too much that I guess disliked about this hire.
Out of the 6 hires in the SEC, and we won't know this answer until about 5 years from now, the correct answer.
Yeah.
But where do you think Auburn ranks out of the 6 new hires? Where would you rank this Auburn hire compared to the others?
I would say probably there's probably 2A or 2B. I think Lane will eventually be a disaster anywhere he goes, just because I think Lane's a disaster as a human being. So, but he's going to give you the number one. He's going to be.
You say that?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even own the dog, guys. He didn't. The dog wasn't even his.
Look, I gotta call time out on that. I heard that roughly after the whole dog thing broke years ago. I heard that's not his dog. It doesn't go home with him. He doesn't feed him. That's not his dog.
Crazy.
And I knew that years ago, and everyone's acting like I thought everyone knew that.
I did not know that. I thought this was another.
Nobody knows this. I
thought this was another Kirk Herbstreit Pete scenario, another dog scenario, and it turns out he left juice in Oxford. It's just wild to me. But then I would say, your 2A and 2B. I think Summerall and Golech probably 2A and 2B. I think Ryan Silverfield, unfortunately, that seems like a match made in the opposite of heaven.
Right.
Because of the way the fan base reacted. I do like Will Stein at Kentucky. I think that's got promise. And there's one more that I'm missing. There's one more.
Pete Golding. Oh,
Pete Golding. Yeah. And that to me, I like Pete. I think he's done a really good job. I don't really understand why they felt like they had to move that fast on the interim. But he could do well. He looks like a frat guy from Ole Miss, so he may fit in perfect.
So Kyle, briefly,
yeah,
is it okay if I transition to basketball now?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say one quick thing.
Okay.
One thing about Pete Golding that someone sent me, and it was from, I can't remember if it was a text or message board or something. It said Pete Golding is like the Ole Miss Jimmy Buffett hire of all time. I was like, really I don't even know what that means.
It's good, though. It makes sense. When you think about it, it makes total sense.
Now, Kyle, briefly, the Auburn Tigers are in the middle of the ACC versus SEC challenge in basketball. The SEC is currently losing that 6-3. Tonight, the Auburn Tigers take on North Carolina State. And then on Saturday, they have a huge matchup with number 2 Arizona. Please talk about the next 2 matchups for the Auburn Tigers on the hardwood.
Yeah, so I think that The reason I like the way this is set up with NC State going first is it's not like you got spanked pretty hard by Michigan, who turns out they may win the Eastern Conference Finals. They're incredible, but you rebounded and you took down St. John's, and then you get to come back and Auburn's I think a 7.5 point favorite in Atlanta where they typically play pretty well. So you get a chance to play a Power 5 opponent against a Power 4 opponent against a really good coach. A game Auburn should win, but it's going to be a test. And then when you go to Arizona, it's going to be the full test because they're really, really good. So one thing I like about this schedule so far is it's been a really good mix of teams that you should be able to handle. And then like there's just been a really good mix of like top end talent, middle tier, all that good stuff. So really preparing Auburn for these type battles. So I like this one being before Arizona instead of flipped. So you come home, you have a week to rest. Again, I love the way that the offense responded, the defense responded after getting just trounced by Michigan. So I think you carry that momentum into Atlanta, win this one, and then see what happens in Arizona. It's going to be a fun one.
And talk about, please, the transition of going from Bruce to Stephen Pearl here with a quick turnaround of that announcement. Talk about how that has affected this Auburn basketball team.
Well, they kept all the coaches and they kept all the players. So in reality, I don't think it's been as much of a transition as most believe. Now, Steven's a lot different in game than Bruce was as far as being animated, as far as energy goes. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. He's just a little bit more reserved. So maybe that'll take some time to get used to because Bruce is like, I don't know how Bruce can even speak today. Like the way he yelled and screamed at almost every single minute of every single game. But Steven was calling the defense and Mike Burgomaster was calling the offense. So there's really not much of a difference between last year and this year. From that standpoint, I think most of it has way less to do with Steven and more to do like this whole team's brand new and learning how to play together and finding out which rotations work. So I think as far as a transition goes, I don't know that it could be more easy. It's like everything was just kind of right there, handed off to him, which has been fantastic so far.
And I've got to ask, what is Bruce up to these days?
He was at Alex Golesh's announcement press conference on Monday, and it was funny. Coach Golech thanked his wife first, and Bruce led a round of applause. Like he was the first one to clap, and then the whole room clapped. Over him thanking, his wife were kind of, a coach's wife that's a tough role. So Bruce leading that, and he's there. He called the Michigan game, which was I'm sure not very fun for him, but he's like at every single game, every single basketball game. He's around. He's as around as much as you can be.
Gotcha.
Kyle, looking at this Auburn basketball team and seeing the early results, where do you think this team's heading? I don't ever judge a team, what they do in November, December, and even January. Yeah. But February, I start forming my opinion like, this team can make a run, or man, this team's starting to fall apart, or they don't have the depth, whatever it might be. What's your prognosis on this team so far of what you've seen?
Yeah, so just looking around the SEC and looking what kind of competition is going to be out there, I think if you can be somewhere around a 10-win conference team, 10 or 11 wins, something like that, anything to me between 10 to 12 wins in conference is kind of what I'm looking at. And I think that could probably get you, depending on how you finish out some of these non-conference games in December, that could probably get you somewhere in the neighborhood of a, 4 to 6 seed in the tournament. And I think that's probably, if that were to happen and Auburn could, maybe get to a Sweet 16, I think that would be considered, a pretty good season for the turnover that you had. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And my opinion could change, I guess, as we gather more information, but they're not elite defensively, but they're very active defensively. So they can turn you over. And then they have guys that can score and score in bunches. I think shooting's got to pick up a little bit, especially from three. But they get to the foul line. When they can actually hit free throws, that's obviously very effective. Just being able to break down a defense and get to the hole and get to the line. So that's something that the offensive side is just going to have to keep developing a little bit more. So but 10, 12 wins in conference would be fantastic. Somewhere between a 4 to 6 seed, I think, would be fair expectations, and anything above that would be excellent.
Gotcha. So, Kyle, as always, look, man, thank you for taking time to join us this morning. Go and enjoy covering Auburn and North Carolina State there in Atlanta tonight, and then their huge matchup with number 2 Arizona there on Saturday. And we will continue to catch up with you next week to continue our discussion about the Auburn Tigers in this basketball season.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Care, I will leave you with this, Kyle. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, so Heath, that is going to wrap up the interview there with Kyle Rush of the barnauburn.com. Really do want to thank him for joining me. And Heath, let me also say this. I believe this was a great hire for Auburn, especially with all the turmoil and how the Alabama game played out. They desperately needed this win.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can ever get the answer, and you might have asked this and got the answer when I was having technical difficulties. Thanks for my computer having to restart. But I really want to know what in the world happened with the hire at Arkansas, and with all, Golech was going there, and now he's at Auburn, and
right,
all that craziness. Like, I'd like to know the term. Was it something at Arkansas that he didn't like? He's like, I don't think I want to do this. Or was it Auburn coming in last second like, hey, we're going to make things so much sweeter for you and greater and awesome? And I just kind of want to know that backstory. We might get that story one day. We may never know that story.
Kevin said that Auburn offered Golech $500,000 more than Arkansas did.
I do remember him saying that. But, I mean, do you think he just – but Steven, I mean, $500,000 is $500,000. I'm not laughing at that. I'm not scoffing at it. And Lord knows it would get my dog out of the pound if I had that. But I don't think it was just one of those things like, hey, we're going to offer you $500,000 more. Oh, okay. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I think there might be a story like, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to give you this, this, and this. We're also going to add this, this, and this, and I'm going to give you $500,000 more. Oh, okay. So I don't know. I think there's a story there. I hope we get the full story one day. But Steven, how was your day yesterday, man?
Man, it was fantastic. And Heath, we actually have a request from John Stringer about a Christmas present for you.
Yes. You know what? I'm okay with that, John. I'm completely okay with that. Steven, not uno, dos computers.
Yes.
Computers.
John, as always, thank you. And also, he said this as well, and I tend to agree with him.
Yeah. I really wonder of having Durkin, and don't get me wrong, I think 95% of people want Durkin on their staff as defensive coordinator.
Yes.
I just think there's a storyline there too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of funny, Stephen. We're starting to hear stories of this. And look, we don't know John Cohen, but we kind of know some of the tendencies that John Cohen does. And he's like, I want to coach with an edge. John Cohen has an edge, especially when he was a coach.
Yes.
He was very edgy. He's wanting to hire someone in his own image, and I get that. I completely get that. But you look at Scott Strickland down at Florida, the athletic director down there. You know, some people said early in this process, before Florida even let go of their coach, that, I don't think Scott Strickland would hire, Lane Kiffin. And then you're starting to hear all these stories, and that there was a story that Scott Strickland was like, hey, we want to have a GM. He won't report to you. He will report to us.
Right.
And Kiffin's like, just put a weird vibe on the whole thing. That story came out yesterday. So I wonder if it's some of these alums pushing for something, and like the athletic director's like, I'm going to give you what you want, but you're not going to get what you want.
Yes.
We're going to interview Kiffin, and, we'll just kind of move on. But there's so many stories out there, and we may never get it. We had one athletic director, Greg Byrne from Alabama, and he talked about hiring Dan Mullen when he was at Mississippi State, first hire he ever had to make. And he mentioned that the number 2 guy is still very successful and still coaching in college football. And I was like, so who was the number 2 guy? And he said, I can't tell you that.
Right.
And he told that wonderful story of the gentleman that was a big booster at Kentucky. And when he was at Kentucky, he cornered him when they were hiring a basketball coach. And he's like, why won't you tell me anything? And he said, I can't tell you anything. He said, I don't want word getting. He goes, I won't tell anybody. It's just all the people I talk to will tell everybody.
Right.
Which is always great. But I don't know. So, Stephen, how was Birmingham yesterday?
Dude, it was fantastic. It was cold, though. Really cold up there.
Welcome to December.
Yes, I know. All right. And Heath, let me also say this, and this is my public service announcement and rant for the day. Every Tuesday night, next year, blah, 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 blah. Can we please stop going crazy over the reaction to the college football playoff rankings? Last night, it was a Twitter war on social media about this team deserves in, that team over this team. It was nonstop. Look, Heath, there is no perfect solution to this because we've got 12 teams right now. Number 13 and number 14, they are on Sunday. They're going to be mad that they were left out. When we go to 16, number 17 and number 18 are going to be mad that they were left out. And if everybody will remember, back in the BCS days, it was number 1 versus number 2 in a computer ranking. And we saw how flawed that system was back in 2004 when an undefeated Auburn team was left out of the national championship game. So in college football, there is no perfect system to decide who are the best teams to play on the field. So no matter what we do, somebody is always going to be pissed off about it. So unfortunately, we just have to deal with it.
I'm going to add to that, Stephen. I don't like mixing apples and oranges. I don't like mixing my sports when I give an example, but this is absolutely 100% true, and you can relate it to this conversation. Look at the big dance in basketball.
Yep.
People were crying, and we're taking 64 teams, and people were crying, well, this team deserves to be in, and this team deserves to be in. So what do? All right, we're going to have play-in games.
Right.
So now we got 68 teams. But what about this team? This team deserves to be in. 68 teams.
Yes.
How many of those 68 teams literally just really have a excellent chance of winning that tournament? Maybe like
12,
3, 4, maybe 5. I don't know. I just that could be debatable.
Right.
But people are always going to complain. I love what Mike Leach said. And if I remember, I'll try to post this on the Stingray Show Facebook page. But Mike Leach said this at Washington State. He goes, let's look at how the NFL does their playoffs. Oh, what? They play it on the field? You got to have a certain record to get in, and we'll settle it on the field. Let's look at how high schools do it. Let's take big states like Texas and California. Oh, what do? They have a playoff just like, they do in the NFL. How do they do it in Pee Wee? Oh, it's a playoff, just like the high school and NFL does it. How do we do it in college football? Let's get a committee. What? Oh, this guy seems like a nice guy. Put him on the committee. He doesn't know much about football, but he's a really nice guy. We all like him, so he's going to go on there. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I'll say this. I do firmly believe that you do a 2014 playoff, and I'll make it short and sweet. If you make your conference championship game, if you make it, you do not have to play that first round. So there's 16 teams that are going to get a bye.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like the wild card playoff game in the NFL. You have to play that extra game, just like they have to play a conference championship. Now everyone's playing the same amount of games, and go from there. You can argue who you want to put in this and that, but I'll say this. And we're an SEC show. I am pro SEC all the time, but what the SEC is doing, it's good for business, but it's wrong for the sport. 100% wrong for the sport.
Yes.
Like, if we're going to increase the playoffs, you have to guarantee me that I get 8 teams in or 5 teams in or whatever.
Yep.
That's the problem that we have right now.
Yeah.
That is the problem that's going on.
Look,
that'd be like the NFL saying, hey, look, people watch the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers more than any other team, so you can have a playoff, but you have to put these 2 teams in every year because people watch them the most. Stop. That's ridiculous. Same thing with the SEC. More people watch us. You have to put more teams from our conference in. That is 100% wrong. It's bad for the sport.
This team right here lost to Florida, who is not even making a bowl game. They do not deserve to be in the playoffs. If you don't know who that is, that's Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns. You have a very bad loss on your resume. You watch on Sunday. They will find a way to put Texas in the field, and they do not deserve to be there.
Again, when you hear the playoff committee say ridiculous things like, oh, head-to-head matchups don't matter. What?
And why play the games?
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Look, I get the argument. I can give both sides 100% agreement of the thought process to your argument. If you're deciding between Texas and Vanderbilt, Texas has more losses. They have 3 losses. Vanderbilt has 2 losses, but Texas did beat Vandy.
Right.
Now Vandy played one of its worst games that year. It was on the road at Texas. You can make all those excuses and arguments, and I get that. But the bottom line is Vandy's ranked higher and has less losses.
Right.
But Texas did beat them head-to-head. I get those arguments, and that's what it is. But, Stephen, if you had a 2014 playoff, you wouldn't have these arguments. Right. Of course, 25 is going to complain. But does the 25th team really have a shot at winning a national title? How much we all love Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt. Can Vandy really win the national title? Like, very slightly. Like, a lot of things have to fall in line for them to do it. I don't see that. Can Texas win the national title?
No.
Very slightly. Like, a lot of things have to fall in line.
Yeah.
So with that, I understand if one of these teams make it or both of these teams get left out or whatever happens. But, if you just had 24 teams make it, and like I said, the Power 4 teams that make the conference championship games get a first-round bye. These other teams have to play each other. It's like the wild card weekend, and then let's go from there. It's just crazy, but can we just not get the best teams? That's what the problem is right now, Stephen, is these conferences, Big Ten, SEC, I'm looking at you, pointing at you. Yeah.
Beating their chest. Put us in.
The reason people are watching it because of our teams. You got to have more of our teams in, or we're going to do our own playoff. Go do your own playoff. I'll call your bluff. Go do your own playoff. Just ruin the sport, and less people will watch. And in the long run, you'll get less money.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Put the best teams in. Let it be settled on the field. Let's go from there.
Right.
And hey, by the way, for all you idiots, and I'll look at your face and say this to you. For all you idiots out there, like, we shouldn't have a 24-team playoff. We got too many teams as it is. Do you know almost 50% of the NFL makes the playoffs?
Yes.
almost like all the mid teams make the playoffs in the NFL. Now there's 130 whatever teams and 120, 130. Well, I can't remember the number. There's a lot of teams. We're just talking about 24.
Mm-hmm.
Just put 24 in. Do you want more or less football? Hey, Tony Barnhart said it best on our show. What are you going to do? Watch reruns of what did he say?
Matlock.
Yeah, he goes, you will watch reruns of Matlock and not watch, college football? I mean, come on. We want more college football. So, hey, but I will say this. The how we used to do it when I was a kid, I mean, the BCS was a step up. Because how we used to do it, we had all these bowl games, and you might have the number 1 team playing like the number 11 team. You might have, the number 2 team playing the number 4 team. And so you'd play all these games on New Year's Day, and then we randomly, hey, who looked the best today? It's like the number 4 team could be crowned national champion, and they played like the, 14th place team. I mean, it didn't make any sense how we used to do it. So the BCS was a step up, then the +1, then the playoff, and now we're extending the playoff. There's too much money to be made. They're only going to make it bigger. I've said it from day one. There's too much money to be made. The playoff is going to grow and grow and grow. Hey, if we get to 64 teams, so be it. I don't think we'll ever see that day. But do we want less college football? We want more. We're all saying that the season's already over, man.
All right, so Heath, we have gone about 42 minutes on this show today, and I think that is a good stopping point for the Stingray Show on Wednesday. Now, when we come back tomorrow, we're going to be talking exclusively about the game there in Atlanta between another rematch of Alabama and Georgia, and of course, this time around, Georgia lost at home to Alabama earlier this season, snapping their 33-game home winning streak. Will Georgia finally be able to beat Alabama during a championship game that is not the national championship? We will be joined by Joe Gaither of Bama Central tomorrow and ESPN senior writer and Georgia alum Mark Schlabach. That is on the Thursday a.m. edition of the Stingray Show with a preview of the Dogs and the Crimson Tide of Atlanta, Georgia in the SEC Championship game. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday out there. Wrap up because it's going to be a breezy one and a brutally cold one out there, and we will see you back here tomorrow morning.
Hey, Steven, I haven't had anything to eat yet. I'm starving. What did you have to eat in Birmingham yesterday?
Went to the Cheesecake Factory, man.
Okay, that menu is like the old Yellow Pages. That menu is humongous. What did you get? Because you could have literally had anything.
I actually got the Parmesan encrusted chicken.
Nice.
It was really good. And to top it off, I got a peppermint bark cheesecake.
Wow. See, I'm not a cheesecake person. I like cheesecake. I don't love cheesecake. If there's another option, I'm usually going to take the other option. But yes. How was the peppermint bark cheesecake?
Divine, man. I loved it.
There you go. Wow. Who would have thought that they had good cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory? Am I right?
Yeah, I know, right? All right, guys. Well, we will see you tomorrow morning right back here on the Stingray Show. And tomorrow morning, we are starting again at 9 a.m. Let's see right here. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. You know, I tell people when they come in, you know, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. You know, we've got the capability to process it, make it. You know, if you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do you a brisket blend. We'll do you a chuck blend. We'll do you a sirloin blend. You know, we do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. You know, people call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You know, you want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show.